Good evening and thanks so much for sticking with us. News 2 is your back to school headquarters, and today the last half hour of our 5 p.m. newscast is solely focused on getting your children back to the classroom as safely as possible.
That's right, Sophia, and we'll have everything you need to know from COVID-19 protocols, what happens to the classroom if a student tests positive in the classroom. Also, we'll have information about traffic safety for that ride back to school. Before we get into the details of COVID-19 protocols in place, here is a list of schools starting this Monday, August 16th. Berkeley County School District, Dorchester District 2, Colleton County, Williamsburg County School District as well, all starting on Monday.
And then the schools starting Wednesday, August 18th include Charleston County School District, Dorchester District 4, and Georgetown County School District.
Ahead of the first day of school, we went to Columbia to speak one-on-one with the state superintendent, Molly Spearman. We asked Spearman what students and teachers can expect this school year.
Spearman said she had hoped for a normal school year, but the Delta variant and the recent increase in cases has forced school districts to double down on precautions.
I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll have a good year.
Another school year amid rising case numbers. State Superintendent Molly Spearman says her team is using the lessons they learned last year to their advantage.
In all aspects, as far as knowing how to better do the contact tracing, the strategies in the school hallways, cafeterias, all of those things we learned so much, so I think we're better prepared.
Educators' biggest challenge, she says, is accelerating learning. Data shows on average South Carolina students are 3 to 4 months behind English language arts and math.
We have required each district to write an academic recovery plan as to how they plan to manage that. They may not be able to cover all of that gap in 1 year, so it will take a while.
As for the topic making headlines across the country, what's your recommendation as a superintendent for the state?
Well, I'm strongly encouraging students and teachers to wear masks following our South Carolina DHEC guidelines. It will not be required. Our state law says it cannot be required, and I will follow that.
The state order goes against CDC recommendations for COVID-19 prevention in K-12 schools, which clearly recommends universal masking regardless of vaccination status. Has the General Assembly's decision made your team's job more difficult?
It has made the decision more difficult, more trying. But I saw as the year went on last year, the tension around wearing face masks grew. Even when the mask mandate was taken off in those last few weeks, there was a tremendous amount of tension with those parents who wanted the mask, those who didn't. So it's very, very unfortunate. And yes, it has made life harder in schools.
Spearman making a final plea for vaccines ahead of what's likely to be a rocky year.
Just encouraging folks who are eligible to think about it seriously, and that we do have something available that can help, and I would encourage them to take advantage of that.
And here locally, the biggest school district in the Lowcountry is preparing for students to return back to the classroom.
Charleston County School District officials say they're taking every precaution they can to protect their students. And we spoke with the district superintendent early this morning. She said some students were already in serious trouble academically prior to COVID-19. Now, new students are experiencing challenges they've never faced before. She tells News 2 how she plans to get those students back on track.
We will simply have to take things 1 month at a time, be ready to make adjustments as we can. Disappointingly, we're not going to be able to deliver the one-on-one tutoring, the close face-to-face extended time that we had hoped to deliver. We'll do everything we can possibly do, judging the circumstances that we're confronted with at the time. But we may have to extend for another year the intensive interventions that we know are absolutely essential for at least 40% of our students.
Superintendent Postlethwaite also spoke on the football jamborees being canceled after several players tested positive on multiple schools. She says this serves as a stark reminder for the community.
When we ended the school year in June, we were in such a much better place in terms of COVID outbreak in our community, and now we're in a very different situation. So it's a reminder to everyone that just how quickly the disease can spread And it doesn't mean a whole team has it, but it means that the team is impacted and has to be quarantined.
And with positive cases already canceling school events like the Jamboree Dr. Postaway just talked about, we asked school district officials what students can expect if COVID cases are confirmed in a classroom. News 2's Forrest Tucker spoke with the Tri-County leaders about these potential changes.
With more schools pulling out of athletic events before school even begins, we asked the question, what do schools do when a student in class tests positive for COVID-19? I spoke with leaders in Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester counties. 6 Tri-County high school football teams are sidelined with COVID-19 cases just days before the school year begins. The superintendent of Charleston County Schools says she's worried about the cases in athletics.
I think every superintendent in the country is up at night.
Over in the classroom, the plans after a positive test result include contact tracing, but depending on the number of positive tests, the plans can change. CCSC will follow the guidance of state health officials.
Currently, if 3 cases of coronavirus exist in a classroom, the classroom is closed for a period of about 2 weeks.
In Berkeley County, schools will be prepared to use cleaning policies from last year after a positive test.
Once we get a positive report, we're going to thoroughly clean that classroom and only bring back those students who either are vaccinated and showing those symptoms or who weren't close contacts.
And in Dorchester District 2, a lack of social distancing would mean one positive test sends a whole class home.
Then potentially that entire classroom could need to quarantine if all of those students and staff are in close contact with one another.
Several school districts, including CCSD, say that they'll be updating their COVID dashboards to keep parents informed about case numbers. Reporting in Charleston, I'm Forrest Tucker. Count on 2.
School leaders, teachers, staff members, and 24,000 students in Dorchester's School District 2 are preparing for the new school year. Math coaches will be available in all middle and elementary schools, and they'll offer all-day 4-year-old kindergarten and their 15 elementary schools. Superintendent Pye says they will use 60 to 70% of $40 million in federal funds for classroom size reduction and are adding purifiers in every classroom. We're told registration numbers are lower than past years, but Superintendent Pye says he expects that number to jump before the first day of school. Although they cannot mandate mask wearing, safety, they say, is a top priority.
We recommend it, we encourage it, but we're not enforcing it. We've lowered the class sizes. That should help us do the social distancing that we may not could have done last year because we were caught by surprise and we already had large classes. But we also at the same time are trying to go back to normal with some of the other things we're doing in our transitions and all. So it's going to be a give and take, but we're going to watch it in our data that was so good last year, and if it really starts spiking, then we're going to have to take other precautions.
37,000 students in Berkeley County will begin the school year with a new leader.
Very excited, very excited. You know, I've been around for 20 years, been in Berkeley County School District for 20 years, but this is my first leading the school district, at least as a full-time superintendent. So it's definitely a change, but we have a very supportive community, a very supportive staff.
Well, if you don't know him, meet Superintendent Dion Jackson. He says there are specific issues he wants to focus on before the first day of school. They include safety measures, overcrowding, and zoning. The district all set to receive $72 million in federal funds to assist in recovery efforts. He also talks about increasing the number of staff in third grade levels and more social workers at schools. He says that the district proved last year they can provide in-person instruction safely.
Encouragement of good hygiene, the providing of personal protective equipment, the encouragement of face coverings, all of those things, physical distancing, assigned seating, arranging students in pods or small groups, and doing things that way to limit the potential spread if someone were to contract coronavirus. All of those things are still in place.
And each college or university in the Lowcountry has a different return to school plan. For Charleston Southern University, masks will not be required while outdoors, but they will be required inside all campus buildings. Officials say vaccinations are not required, but the school is issuing incentives to get their students vaccinated. They say if a student is fully vaccinated, they have the chance to win a gift card up to $500.
And at the College of Charleston, vaccinations and masks will not be required. Students who cannot provide vaccination proof must comply to a one-time COVID-19 testing requirement before they return to the campus. We have more information on our website about colleges and universities across our state. You can find it when you go to counton2.com and search for that particular school.